Sports Legends New England is brought to you by the Renaissance Hotel and Spa at Patriot Place, the official hotel of Sports Legends New England. Shop, dine, enjoy. Patriot-Place.com. Rivier College. Open the doors of opportunity with a degree from Rivier College. Online at rivier.edu. Capital City Limousine Service, providing transportation for clients throughout New England with professional career chauffeurs. Online at limosforlegends.com. Precision Fitness Equipment, where the pros go for fitness equipment. Natick, Newton, Hanover, and Nashua. PrecisionFitnessEquipment.com.
Hello and welcome. Jack Heath here alongside Bob Lobel for Sports Legends New England. And we're inside Jerry Remy's new fabulous restaurant, sports bar and grill on Boylston Street, right next to the old ballpark, Fenway Park, and what a beautiful place Jerry has. And Bob, it's a delight always to be with you. You're looking good today as always. But I'm really excited to have your guest and very good friend, because I thought the Lobel name was the true New England sports franchise brand name, and it is, but there's another name that I grew up listening to. When you think of sports, you think of this name, and I'm delighted to have your good friend with us.
Upton Bell, Jack is talking about, and he is with us in a couple reasons. Upton will come back and try to justify his place as a New England sports legend. It won't be easy in the time that we've allotted, but I will say this book is out on any given Sunday. It's a book about Upton's father, Bert Bell, and the reason this is fairly important and fairly timely is that the 75th anniversary of the draft, which was instituted by Bert Bell, and also the recent talk about the overtime rule, which was introduced by Bert Bell, who was the first commissioner of the National Football League.
Well, he was, and I know we don't have enough time to get into his young life, or maybe a little bit, because he was one of the most fascinating men in American history.
Well, here's the deal. Anytime you give your father, you take away from yourself.
No, well, it doesn't make any difference. I'm already there. I'm like.
Okay, I'm just
I'm there.
I'm just telling you.
I'm talking about my son.
I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's okay. He had one of the most fantastic lives you could ever think of. Before we get to the 75th anniversary, he put the draft rule in to save pro football, because the Giants and the Washington Redskins and the Chicago Bears with George Halas were dominating pro football. Nobody else had any money. The league was about to go under. He was the only one not drinking at that time, and he made sure over 3 days that he pushed this through while everybody got drunk. It changed the history of pro football. It changed the history of all the pro sports. The NBA, NHL, everybody has it. It's never been stricken down in court. The second thing that saved pro football and moved it ahead of baseball was December 1958. I'm sitting, by the way, I hate to name drop, but it is. It is the legend.
You never hesitated.
I'm sitting next to Joe DiMaggio and Marilyn Monroe, paying no attention to the Colts and the Giants, and not really realizing that a rule put in 3 years earlier by Bert Bell called sudden death would happen in the most dramatic game of all time. Those two rules that he put in and fought for, and many of the owners want to turn down, save all of professional sports. And now 75 years later, and 50 years later, they're still here with us.
And not to mention, Upton, but I'd like to know what your dad would think. The draft is a major entertainment sports event in and of itself. I mean, it's a huge TV production when they actually have the NFL draft. They have cameras in the draftees' home. It's a big deal now. They have a live audience. I mean, it's huge.
Well, and actually, he being a showman, actually in the first draft, he drafted Jay Berwanger, who was the All-American Heisman Trophy winner, and Berwanger, as soon as he heard it was Bert Bell, retired. And he said, I'm not going to that damn team. And he had to trade his rights to the Bears. So my father, in trying to get people to come see the Eagles, nobody would come to see them, drafted loser Pitts out of Sing Sing prison and advertised it, come out to the game and see the first con play with the Philadelphia Eagles. And of course the guy came out, the Bears beat him 73-0, and he fired the guy at halftime, and Pitts said, I ain't no dog meat, and that was a quote in the Philadelphia Inquirer. So it was a wild time. He got through a lot of different things, and in 1946, He actually sold the Eagles, became partners, 50% partners with Art Rooney, coached the Steelers, and then in 1946 they said only a guy that's known all of the agony, lost all his money, would be the perfect commissioner. Figuring he'd be a great figurehead, he'd go in there, entertain people, and not do a damn thing. So what happened? 1946, he steps right in, stops a gambling scandal on the night of the game between the Bears and the Giants, suspends the two players for life, hires after that ex-FBI men to follow players and owners all over the place, put in a rule that you must, which is still there again today, almost 80 years later, put in a rule that every team has to declare, of course not Bill Belichick, has to declare by a Thursday who's injured and why and how they were graded. He also, from there, put in the first television policy, went to Washington, hired himself, and as a lobbyist, went to Washington, met Truman, met everybody, Lyndon Johnson, everybody else, to stop the antitrust, because he stopped all television of home games to protect the home gate and then televise the away games. All of the things, by the way, that you think that Pete Rozelle got credit for were not his, and I don't mean that in a negative way.
Sure.
It was Bert Bell that did it, and only 50 years later are you learning in a book the genius of this guy, who also was the only person in sports history that was offered the baseball commissionership and the football commissionership at the same time.
Might be official.
Never happened.
Bob, hard to believe the NFL today without him.
Well, we're out of time, Jack. Thank you very much.
That's it for me.
Typical.
I want to hear about Upton Bell.
I do. I've always wanted to hear about Upton Bell, but I'm used to it. I'm used to it. You're not.
Amazing.
I'm just telling you that it's that one question we were able to get in. It was a bonus. He and
This
Bob
is an
Ryan,
hour, isn't it?
when Bob Ryan interviews Upton, neither one of them has got a chance. No, it's not quite the hour that you think. But, you know, now we can talk about you.
Well,
Since
and a segue to help, because I want you to get into the friendship, but I didn't know of Upton, his own experience, beyond the upbringing in Philadelphia, but with the New England Patriots and other teams, and from ownership to general manager. I mean, people think of Upton Bell, and it's the radio, the sports voice.
All by mistake, by the way.
general manager of the Patriots.
Yeah.
I know, never.
All by mistake, and he and I ended up by mistake. And this is what I really love about life. Don't plan anything. That's what I tell people. Plan nothing. Go to school, you know, you get your diploma if you're lucky to graduate. I was the first one to graduate in the Bell family because they threw my father out of Penn after the football season was over. But the one thing that I've learned is don't count on anything. Don't think the thing that you're going into for life is going to be the thing you end up with. And this is a perfect example. Ever did I think that I would be fired by the Patriots, own a team in the World Football League with Arnold Palmer, be involved in some of the most bizarre situations you've ever seen, and one day walk into WBZ because he had no guest, and the rest was
Make it
history.
sound so desperate.
Well, life is desperate.
Well, I mean, don't make it sound like I was desperate.
Any
No,
regrets,
yeah.
Upton?
No.
Ask
Are
me.
you kidding?
Bob, any regrets with the Upton Bell?
Not at all. It's been a great.
Well, you know what?
It's been a great journey.
I want to
It's not
turn
over
to my
yet.
buddy and partner, Bob. Let me turn the tables. When Upton Bell walked into BZ,
Yeah.
tell me the memory Bob LaBelle has of that.